Question 31. Which term is most closely related to the idea of residual risk? A. Risk deterrence. B. Risk transference. C. Risk acceptance. D. Risk avoidance. Correct answer. C. Risk acceptance. Risk acceptance is most closely related to residual risk. Residual risk refers to the risk that remains after all mitigation measures have been applied, and organizations accept it as unavoidable or manageable. By acknowledging and accepting these remaining risks, organizations can focus on operating effectively while monitoring the potential impact. Question 32. What is the best description of malware that will execute some malicious activity when a particular condition is met? i.e., if the condition is met, then executed. A. Boot sector virus. B. Buffer overflow. C. Logic bomb. D. Sparse infector virus. Correct answer. C. Logic bomb. A logic bomb performs malicious actions when a specific condition or conditions are met. A boot sector virus infects the boot sector of the hard drive. A buffer overflow happens when the attacker tries to put more data in a variable than it can hold. A sparse infector virus performs its malicious activity intermittently to make it more complex to detect. Question 33. What type of information does a control risk typically involve? A. Financial data. B. Health data. C. Intellectual property. D. Personally identifiable information. Correct answer. A. Financial data. Control risk involves financial data, specifically the possibility of errors, misstatements, or fraud in financial records that are not prevented, detected, or corrected by a company's internal controls. It is commonly evaluated during audits to ensure the accuracy and reliability of financial reporting. Question 34. Which type of security policy is the least commonly implemented? A. Acceptable use policy. B. Parking policy. C. Password policy. D. Social media policy. Correct answer. B. Parking policy. While organizations often prioritize policies related to acceptable use, passwords, and social media to protect digital and organizational resources, parking policies are less frequently addressed, as they focus on physical parking spaces and are typically considered lower priority in the context of overall security management. Question 35. Where is an RFID attack most likely to happen as part of a penetration test? A. Access badges. B. System authentication. C. VPN logins. D. Web application access. Correct answer. A. Access badges. Radio frequency identification, RFID, is commonly used for access badges, inventory systems, and even for identifying pets using implantable chips. In a penetration testing scenario, attackers are most likely to attempt to acquire or clone RFID-based access badges to gain admittance to a building or office suite. Question 36. Which of the following types of attack does an attacker's system appear to be the server to the real client and appear to be the client to the real server? A. Denial of service. B. Eavesdropping. C. On-path. D. Replay. Correct answer. C. On-path. In the on-path, man-in-the-middle attack, the attacker is between the client and the server, and to either end, the attacker appears like the legitimate other ends. This does not describe any denial of service attack. A replay attack involves resending login information. Although an on-path attack can be used to perform eavesdropping, in this scenario, the best answer is an on-path attack. Question 37. Tom realized that his company's financial accounting software is misconfigured, leading to continuous errors in the data being reported. What type of risk best describes this situation? A. Control risk. B. Inherent risk. C. Residual risk. D. Transparent risk. Correct answer. A. Control risk. Control risk refers to the possibility that errors or misstatements in data will not be prevented, detected, or corrected by a company's internal controls. In Tom's case, the misconfiguration of the financial accounting software reflects a failure in internal control, resulting in continuous errors in reported data. Question 38. David, a hacker on the run, has violated international laws and is unable to find refuge anywhere because of the severity of the laws he broke. What type of law is David avoiding? A. Administrative law. B. Common law. C. Civil law. D. Criminal law. Correct answer. D. Criminal law. Criminal law governs serious offenses that disrupt public safety and order. It establishes rules and penalties for crimes such as hacking, theft, and other harmful actions against individuals, organizations, or society, leading to severe consequences like imprisonment and international pursuit for violators. Question 39. Which of the following is not considered a physical security measure? A. Antivirus software. B. Closed-circuit television. C. Fence. D. Motion detector. Correct answer. A. Antivirus software. Antivirus software is a software-based security measure designed to detect and prevent malware, viruses, and other digital threats from affecting computers and networks. Question 40. Which policy clearly defines the ownership of information created or used by an organization? A. Data governance policy. B. Data retention policy. C. Acceptable use policy. D. Information security policy. Correct answer. A. Data governance policy. A data governance policy clearly defines the ownership of information created or used by an organization. This policy establishes rules and responsibilities for managing data, including who has the authority and accountability for ensuring its accuracy, security, and accessibility throughout its life cycle. Question 41. What is the primary reason to include a privacy notice on a website? A. Because of legal or regulatory requirements. B. To alert attackers about security measures. C. To prevent legal action. D. None of the above. Correct answer. A. Because of legal or regulatory requirements. A privacy notice is primarily included on a website to inform users about how their personal data will be collected, used, and protected. It is often required by legal and regulatory standards such as the General Data Protection Regulation or the California Consumer Privacy Act. Question 42. Emily needs to transfer the risk of breaches to another company. What action should she take to mitigate the risk? A. Blame future breaches on competitors. B. Explain to her management that breaches are inevitable. C. Purchase cybersecurity insurance. D. Sell her organization's data to another company. Correct answer. C. Purchase cybersecurity insurance. Cybersecurity insurance is a risk transfer strategy that helps mitigate the financial impact of data breaches or cyber incidents by transferring the financial responsibility to an insurance provider. This allows the organization to reduce the financial burden associated with potential breaches and focus on improving its cybersecurity posture. Question 43. Which of the following rules states that multiple changes to a computer system should not be made at the same time? A. Acceptable use. B. Change management. C. Due care. D. Due diligence. Correct answer. B. Change management. Change management refers to the process of managing changes to a system in a structured and controlled manner. One of its key rules is that multiple changes should not be made simultaneously to avoid complications and errors. This ensures that any issues that arise can be traced to a specific change and makes troubleshooting easier. Question 44. Which of the following refers to a document that provides detailed information on potential cybersecurity risks? A. Risk register. B. Risk heat map. C. Risk matrix. D. Risk repository. Correct answer. A. Risk register. Risk register is a document that provides detailed information on potential cybersecurity risks, including descriptions of the risks, their potential impacts, likelihood of occurrence, and the actions required to mitigate them. It is used to track and manage risks throughout their life cycle, ensuring that appropriate responses are in place. Question 45. Your manager has asked you to investigate the costs of renting a location that can resume operations within hours of a failure. What type of location is this called? A. Hot. B. Warm. C. Cold. D. Round. Correct answer. A. Hot. Hot Site is a fully equipped disaster recovery location that enables an organization to resume operations within hours of a failure. It includes all the hardware, software, and network resources necessary to continue business operations immediately, often mirroring the live environment. Question 46. What is the main cause of improper input handling? A. Improper error handling. B. Improper source code review. C. Lack of user awareness. D. Trusting rather than validating data inputs. Correct answer. D. Trusting rather than validating data inputs. Trusting rather than validating user input is the root cause of improper input handling. All input should be considered potentially malicious and thus treated as untrusted. Appropriate filtering, validation, and testing should be performed to ensure that only valid data input is accepted and processed. Question 47. You are performing a penetration test of your company's network. As part of the test, you will be given a login with minimal access and will try to gain administrative access with this account. What is this called? A. Climbing. B. Privilege escalation. C. Root grabbing. D. Session hijacking. Correct answer. B. Privilege escalation. Privilege escalation refers to the act of attempting to gain privileges beyond one's current level. Session hijacking, on the other hand, entails taking control of an authenticated session. Root grabbing and climbing are not industry standard terms. Question 48. Which of the following type of attacks exploits the trust that a website has for an authenticated user to attack that website by spoofing requests from the trusted user? A. Bluejacking. B. Cross-site request forgery. C. Cross-site scripting. D. Evil twin. Correct answer. B. Cross-site request forgery. Cross-site request forgery sends fake requests to a website that purports to be from a trusted, authenticated user. Cross-site scripting exploits the trust the user has for the website and embeds scripts into that website. Bluejacking is a Bluetooth attack. Nothing in this scenario requires or describes an evil twin, which is an attack that uses a malicious access point that duplicates a legitimate AP. Question 49. When a program has variables, especially arrays, and does not check the boundary values before inputting data, what attack is the program vulnerable to? A. Buffer overflow. B. CSRF. C. Logic bomb. D. XS. Correct answer. A. Buffer overflow. A buffer overflow is possible when boundaries are not checked, and the attacker tries to put in more data than the variable can hold. Cross-site scripting is a web page attack. Cross-site request forgery is a web page attack. A logic bomb is a malware that performs its misdeed when some condition is met. Question 50. Which of the following risk management strategies would an organization use to continue operating a legacy system with known risks? A. Acceptance. B. Transference. C. Avoidance. D. Mitigation. Correct answer. A. Acceptance. Acceptance is a risk management strategy where an organization chooses to continue operating a legacy system despite known risks. By accepting the risks, the organization acknowledges them but decides not to take immediate action to eliminate or reduce them, often due to cost, feasibility, or operational priorities. Question 51. Which of the following types of testing uses an automated process of proactively identifying vulnerabilities of the computing systems present on a network? A. A known environment test. B. An unknown environment test. C. Security audit. D. Vulnerability scanning. Correct answer. D. Vulnerability scanning. Vulnerability scans use automated and semi-automated processes to identify known vulnerabilities. Audits usually involve document checks. Unknown and known environment testing are both types of penetration tests. Question 52. Which of the following regulations governs the privacy of personal data for European Union citizens? A. PHI. B. HIPAA. C. PCI DSS. D. GDPR. Correct answer. D. GDPR. GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, is a regulation enacted by the European Union to protect the privacy and personal data of EU citizens. It establishes strict rules on how organizations collect, store, process, and share personal data, ensuring individuals' rights to control their information. Question 53. Evaluating the likelihood and impact of risks based on personal judgment is classified as which type of risk assessment? A. Risk acceptance. B. Quantitative risk assessment. C. Risk transference. D. Qualitative risk assessment. Correct answer. D. Qualitative risk assessment. Qualitative risk assessment involves evaluating the likelihood and impact of risks based on personal judgment, experiences, and non-numerical criteria. This method relies on subjective analysis, often using descriptions such as high, medium, or low to assess risk levels and determine appropriate mitigation strategies. Question 54. Which of the following is not a potential type of human-made disaster? A. Fires. B. Hurricanes. C. Oil spills. D. War. Correct answer: B. Hurricanes. Hurricanes are natural disasters caused by severe weather conditions, such as strong winds and heavy rains, and are not human-made. In contrast, fires, oil spills, and wars are examples of human-made disasters, as they can result from human actions or negligence. Question 55. Your wireless network has been breached. It appears the attacker modified a portion of data used with the stream cipher and used this to expose wirelessly encrypted data. What is this attack called? A. Evil twin. B. Rogue. C. WAP4 attack. D. WPS attack. Correct answer: C. WAP4 attack. Initialization vectors are used with stream ciphers. An IV attack attempts to exploit a flaw to use the IV to expose encrypted data. Nothing in this scenario requires or describes a rogue access point/evil twin. Wi-Fi protected setup, WPS, uses a PIN to connect to the wireless access point. The WPS attack attempts to intercept that PIN in transmission, connect to the WAP, and then steal the WPA2 password. Question 56. Scott works as a network security administrator for a company that creates advanced routers and switches. He has noticed that his company's networks have been subjected to a series of advanced attacks over a period of time. Which of the following best describes this attack? A. APT. B. Brute force. C. DDoS. D. Disassociation attack. Correct answer: A. APT. An advanced persistent threat, APT, involves sophisticated, i.e., advanced, attacks over a period of time, i.e., persistent. A distributed denial of service could be a part of an APT, but in and of itself is unlikely to be an APT. Brute force attempts every possible random combination to get the password or encryption key. In a disassociation attack, the attacker attempts to force the victim into disassociating from a resource. Question 57. Where does the information for predictive analysis for threat intelligence come from? A. Behavior patterns. B. Current security trends. C. Large security data sets. D. All of the above. Correct answer: D. All of the above. Predictive analysis tools use large volumes of data, including information about security trends and threats, large security data sets from various security tools and other sources, and behavior patterns to predict and identify malicious and suspicious behavior. Question 58. What type of social engineering involves a sinister user forcefully demanding the immediate transmission of top-secret documents, threatening that failure to comply would sabotage a multi-million-dollar deal and leave their salesperson high and dry? A. Consensus. B. Familiarity. C. Intimidation. D. Scarcity. Correct answer: C. Intimidation. Intimidation is a social engineering tactic in which the attacker employs bullying tactics or threats to coerce the victim into taking an action. Familiarity involves the attacker creating a connection with the victim beforehand, or impersonating someone the victim regularly interacts with. Consensus is a strategy where the attacker fabricates fake testimonials to persuade the victim that others have used the software or web page being offered, making it appear safe. Scarcity is another social engineering technique that involves presenting what the attacker is offering as rare or unavailable elsewhere. Question 59. What is the type of attack in which the attacker enters JavaScript into a text area that will be viewed by other users? A. Bluejacking. B. Clickjacking. C. Cross-site scripting. D. SQL injection. Correct answer. C. Cross-site scripting. Cross-site scripting involves entering a script into text areas that other users will view. SQL injection is not about entering scripts, but rather SQL commands. Clickjacking is about tricking users into clicking on the wrong thing. Bluejacking is a Bluetooth attack. Question 60. What attacks can be caused by a user being unaware of their physical surroundings? A. ARP poisoning. B. Phishing. C. Shoulder surfing. D. Smurf attack. Correct answer. C. Shoulder surfing. Shoulder surfing involves literally looking over someone's shoulder in a public place and gathering information, perhaps login passwords. ARP poisoning alters the address resolution protocol tables in the switch. Phishing is an attempt to gather information, often via email, or to convince a user to click a link to and/or download an attachment. A Smurf attack is a historical form of denial of service attack. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful for you, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more practice questions and tips.